Hello everyone, what's up? This is the Cool Crew here. Today we are doing a much different video. I don't know why I decided to do this. I just thought, like, you know what, screw it. No, might as well. So today I'm going to be talking about my ultimate budget racing setup. I don't usually do setup videos because most of the time people really do not care. Well, some people do care, but I personally don't care about that stuff. But I thought, let's just show what you can do with like very little money-wise. Because I see stuff like, oh, $1,000 sim setups, $2,000 racing setup, 4,600, 1 million. Whoa, yeah, crazy. Yeah, no, you don't need any of that. You really don't. So with that out of the way, let's get started. We're going to talk about the requirements, and then we're going to talk about optional stuff. Requirements: you need a computer, a screen, a keyboard, and a mouse.
Nighttime, I'm up at the right time.
Okay, but you really don't want that, do you? You want, I want to have the most realistic experience out there. So, I'm going to get straight into that. First, wheels. What I have is a Logitech Driving Force Pro. Specifically, the one with the Gran Turismo logo on it, on all that cool jazz. You can get it pretty much anywhere you want to go. Anywhere you want to go, like Mercari or eBay. Usually goes around 100. Sometimes it's cheaper. I got mine practically brand new for $100. So the grips on it aren't used up. Buttons aren't like jammed and whatever. It's in perfect working condition. So depending on what you want to do, you can go 120 for one that's like new, or you can go as cheap as like $35. But it'll probably only get you the wheel, and you kind of need the pedals to actually use it. So just saying. If you have a little bit more money, you could go for the upgrade version, which is the it's a Driving Force GT, which it's pretty much the same thing here, except it was made for the PS3 and it's got a couple more buttons on it. Like you can see a plus and minus right there, and making it look more realistic, I guess, if you want to say that. So there's that. So once you get it, there's, at least we're gonna be talking about the Logitech Driving Force Pro, the one I have. There's going to be two plugs. You plug both of them into the wheel. One goes straight into a wall socket to generate power, and the other one goes into a USB port in your computer. You gotta have a USB port. It doesn't have to be USB 3 or like 3.1 or anything. It has to be at least a Type A, so a USB 2 or USB 3 port. It can't be anything new like a Type C or a Thunderbolt port. It can't be anything fancy like that. Once you have plugged it all in, 3 plugs, my bad. One plug goes into the pedals. I put this in. Almost all wheels have these twisty things. You just twist right to twist the clamp so that it doesn't move around. You just put it in, twist both of them in until it's got a tight fit, and once it's in place, you're pretty much all set, ready to go. Once you plug it in, let me get a lower view. Can't really see it that well, but when you plug it in to a USB port, this will happen. That's what happens. That's basically just calibrating. Don't worry about it making a little sound at all. That's just what it's supposed to do. As it is electric and it has force feedback and all of that, it just has to calibrate itself. Another thing you gotta do is that you gotta install drivers. If you have something like G-Hub, it will not work because the wheel is just simply too old. Say 05. There are still drivers, and they will work on. They'll probably work on your computer. I know that it works on my computer, and I have Windows 11, so pretty much you can just use the Windows 10 driver, Windows 10 drivers, Windows 8, 7, whatever it is you have. You can just download it. Should work just like that. And then you'll get something called you'll get the drivers, of course, and then you'll get this thing called the Logitech Profiler. This does not matter. You don't need to use this whatsoever. Most games will already detect that you're using a racing wheel, so you don't need to touch this at all. Now, some games will automatically detect what your wheel is. Some don't, and will just know that you have a wheel plugged in. And then some games don't even know you have a wheel until you actually do the setup, and then it realizes, oh shoot, you're using a wheel. So there's that. Well, I'm gonna talk about this wheel. It has, as I said, it has force feedback. So for 2005, it's pretty good. It has 900-degree wheel rotation, and it has a shifter. Unfortunately, it's only sequential. It's not an H shifter, so you can't like manually shift into what gear you want. It's just either up or down. So that's the wheel. That's the whole entire wheel. Pretty much set with that. Another thing, if you want the ultimate budget gaming experience, VR headset. Now I choose the Oculus Quest 2 because as it stands, as you can, well, you can't see it, but it's November 28th. As it stands, the Quest 2 is currently the cheapest headset you can get. You can connect this to the PC at literally no additional cost. You just need to have a Quest 2. Then you just need the Oculus app on your computer, and then you can either use the cable or you can use AirLink. Now, depending on your internet connection, you might not want to use AirLink. Usually, for games on the desktop, it's fine, as long. I know it usually like jitters a little bit, but at least with my experience, when you're in a game that doesn't require you to use the VR controllers, it's pretty much fine. So that's what we got for pretty much requirements. Obviously you don't need a VR headset in order to play it. You don't need a driving wheel, but this is, if you want to have, the most realism on a budget. Now, here's a trick. By default, the wheel only turns 180 degrees. But there is a way to unlock it. If it doesn't unlock automatically, what you do is hit select R3 and then the right paddle shifter. And there you go. Now you have full 900-degree rotation. And then you just click again to turn back to 180. Usually if the game has wheel support, you almost always want to turn 900-degree rotation on. Some games will work fine with it being 180, but the problem with that is that if you have on 180, some games might have an issue with the force feedback, and you'll start getting something that goes like this. Don't know why, but that's just how it works. So if you turn it on, boom, then suddenly it's gone. So, what are you gonna do? Now that we finally got that out of the way, let's review. If you want, you can play racing games with the keyboard, mouse, computer, whatever. But if you want the budget setup, you get a wheel and a VR headset. Obviously for games that support VR. For example, I have 3 games that are racing games and support VR as well as wheels. Usually most racing games support wheels anyways, but we're going to try out Assetto Corsa, Race Room Racing Experience, and Project Cars. Project Cars is pretty much going to work for Project Cars 1, 2, and 3, so there's no problem with that. And now, here's one thing. If you want to get a step further, there's a free app that you can download. It's called Crew Chief. Basically, what this will do is it will have your very own crew chief and spotter. So you basically talk to it and ask, ask commands from it. As for example, if you go to the voice commands, you can say, how's my fuel? What's the fastest lap? What are your temperatures? What time is it? Damage report, full update, what class is the car ahead, time to stop, alarm clocks, pretty much anything you can think of. There's even specific ones for iRacing and Race Room Racing Experience. So we got that. So I'm going to show you how it works. We're going to start the application. What you do is that you choose the game that they support, which has a lot of pretty modern games. Like we have Assetto Corsa, we have Project Cars, even has Project Cars 2 and 3, and we also have Race Room. They also got R Factor 2, Richard Burns Rally, Stock Car Extreme, iRacing, Formula Truck, Dirt Rally 2, Automobilista 2, Copa Petrobras de Marcas, Assetto Corsa Competizione, and of course Formula 1 games, but they only have the spotters. So I'm going to start the application and show you pretty much how it works.
Radio check.
So you hear that. You can see the voice recognition mode. You can do a hold button, press and release. You can have it always on, or you can do the trigger word. For example, Chief, can you hear me?
Okay, Andrew. Yeah, I can hear you.
Say, pretty cool. So I think that will definitely give you some more realism. Like I said, it's free. What you'll have to do is, update the sound pack, driver names, and personalizations. Then you can have your name so that they say your name. Pretty easy. Just like that. With that out of the way, we are now finally able to show you all this stuff in action. Gonna have the VR headset, going to have the steering wheel. I'm going to showcase some games running with this ultimate budget setup. So the first game I'm going to be trying out is Assetto Corsa. Now, I'm not going to be loading up Assetto Corsa, through Steam. But I'm going to be using Content Manager, but it's pretty much the exact same thing. I don't know if the crew chief's going to work on modded maps, so we're just going to do normal, original maps. Let's just do the Grand Prix circuit. Now, it'll probably work for modded cars, but just to be safe, again, we're just going to choose one of the cars that come with the game. No, why don't we try the GT40? That'll be fun. Let's go with the old classic number 6. Now, of course, I'm not going to be actually trying on these. It's just to basically give you a feel of what it would be like. Let's turn penalties off because I'm completely terrible at Assetto Corsa. So let's go into our crew chief, Assetto Corsa 64-bit. Chief, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
All right, there we go. Now we'll minimize this, and we'll go straight into a race. For Assetto Corsa specifically, it realized I had a racing. It detected my racing wheel, but it didn't know what kind of racing wheel it was, and it didn't do any keybind, so I had to bind it myself. But that's completely fine. So as you can see, See, it's working just fine. The game should be running pretty smoothly. I mean, depending on your computer, you can obviously change everything to your liking, but we're just going to go straight into a race and show you what it's like.
P8. Alright, Andrew. Get ready. Go, go, go!
Wow, this car is not very good at braking. Like I said, I'm not very good at this. Oh, Jesus. And obviously, voice recognition.
Bad start, mate, but there's plenty of time to make it up.
Yeah, look, the crew chief is doing exactly what it's supposed to do.
Car left.
Oh, shoot.
Clear left.
Now, as I was saying, I'm not very good at it, but the crew chief is doing exactly what it's supposed to do. And if I ask it something, it's going to give me an update exactly everything is just ideal. And this just shows that you can have the most realistic experience even on a budget. Force feedback is working great. Makes it very realistic. Obviously, there's settings in each game to tweak it to your liking. I always found default settings to be perfect.
Car left. Clear left. 2 to go. P11.
Didn't even say anything there, but whatever. Well, let's do something. Chief, update me.
One more lap after this one. There's no significant damage. 7.9 gallons remaining. We're not seeing any significant tyre wear. Your tyre temperatures are good. Your brake temps are good. The gap in front is now 4.0.
Look at that. All of this
The leader
for
has
free.
just done it. 125.10.
No, like I said, I'm not.
We just had a warning for cutting the track.
Cutting the track? Well, I don't even have penalties on. Then again, I enable it so that it would still give me warnings, even if warnings aren't, enabled in the race settings themselves.
One more lap, P11.
Chief, how are my tires?
Tyre wear looks fine, mate.
Of course they're fine. I don't have tire wear on.
On your left.
Jesus.
Clear left. There's an Darlington, Surtees. Looks like it's Fuchs. Stay between the lines, please, Andrew.
And chillax.
V10, okay, it's over.
And there you go. Second game we're going to be trying out is Project Cars. Now, some games will have an Oculus Rift mode. As you can see, if you have an Oculus device, you will use an Oculus VR mode. You can use Steam VR, which I'll show you for the next game, but if there's a way to do an Oculus, you'll want to do that one. Now Project Cars realized that I do have a Logitech Driving Force Pro, so it just automatically binded everything for me. I didn't have to touch it in any way, shape, or form. It was just ready to go right out the box. So let's open up Crew Chief, do Project Cars, then we'll go into VR and show you what it's like. Now, it's going to be pretty much the same thing, Project Cars 2 and 3. So, if you have either or, that'll work just as well. So let's turn this on.
Radio check.
Chief, can you hear me?
Okay, Andrew. Yeah, I can hear you.
There we go. Now let's load up into a Project Cars. Now, like I said, it recognizes the Logitech Driving Force Pro instantly, so you don't need to do any additional setup. Let's do Azure Circuit. Let's use a Mustang. And we'll just keep that as is. Oh, I know why. I have the Microsoft Communications thing set so that it lowers everything else when people are speaking. I forgot to change that, so that's actually my fault. Well, the Mustang's not very good. Does not have very good handling. Like the go-karts, I'm able to whip them around. It plays a little different. That's actually the I can't say or else it's going to trigger it. But that's in Project Cars, not the app. And I'll show Chief. Full update.
Car looks fine, no significant damage.
Now now it is very different depending on what game it is. It seems like for Project Cars, it's not as useful as it was in Assetto Corsa. We will have one more game to lap time. Oh. Okay, I think we can clearly see that I'm terrible at Project Cars. Alright, we got one final game. That is Race Room Racing Experience. Now this one was the most hassle. It knew I had a wheel, but it didn't know what kind of wheel, so I did have to change the key bindings so that it knew my throttle, brake, certain buttons. And also, in order to load it up in VR, I had to install Steam VR, which is obviously free, and it works with Oculus, so you don't have to worry about that. You can just pretty much run it as is. But yeah, this one was kind of a pain to get set up. But regardless, let's turn on the crew chief.
Radio check.
Chief, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Alright, there we go. Now we're going to load up Race Room Racing Experience in VR. And there you go. That is what you can get with the ultimate budget racing setup. Obviously, my racing was absolutely terrible, and I need to definitely polish up on that. But other than that, aside from the crew chief not responding when I was playing Race Room, everything worked pretty well. There you go. That is my racing setup, and I think it is perfect bang for your buck. And with that, we're going to end the video here. Everyone, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like this video if you enjoyed, subscribe if you want to see more quality content. And as always, I'll see you guys in the next video. Stay cool. Chief, can you hear me?
Now you're breaking up.
Chief, can you hear me? Chief, can you hear me?
Didn't understand that.
Chief. Chief, can you hear me?
Oh no, I just can't hear you.
Chief, can you hear me? And this is why voice recognition isn't exactly all that good. Chief, can you hear me? Just doesn't want to work at all, apparently.